Hello again, everybody, and welcome to our bowl edition of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our periodic look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting perspective. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by Lee Sterling of ParamountSports.com. And if you want to get all the latest and greatest prognostications in the bowl season, the NFL playoffs, you see the website, you see the number on the bottom of your screen. Get hooked up with Lee Sterling, and he will help you make money. Lee, I don't envy your challenge in bowl season, including this Miami Hurricanes game at the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Honestly, I'm looking forward to sampling some Pop-Tarts at the stadium tomorrow. I always liked Pop-Tarts as a kid. I know they've expanded their flavor selection through the years, so I'm sure they're going to have plenty of that stuff in the press section up there at the Camping World Stadium in Orlando. But your challenge, not just in the Miami game, but in the bowl season in general, is how do you prognosticate what is essentially, in most cases, and obviously the college football playoff doesn't apply to this, meaningless football games? Like how do you figure out who is going to show up interested in competing and playing, who is going to show up totally disinterested? Miami has lost 11 of their last 12 bowl games. And I attribute that to the fact that they have all been meaningless. And, you know, Florida kids and kids that come to Miami expecting to compete for championships don't get themselves fired up for bowl games. I'm going to give you the floor. What happens in the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
So, it's much more challenging, Gary. A lot more. I used to spend probably 2.5, 3 hours 8-10 years ago just looking at the opt-outs, kids who were not going to play. And now I think I spent 8.5 hours last Tuesday or last Wednesday. And then every day I'm spending 25, 30, 35 minutes just making sure each game that I'm looking at, there aren't more opt-outs. Obviously, weather is important. Got to check in these games. And looking for coaches, looking to send a message. Also I got to, go online and check out and make sure, see who's scrimmaging. Some of these schools scrimmage ones versus ones, a little bit to get a little work in. Some just scrimmage, like Miami historically scrimmages 2s versus 3s and 3s versus 2s back and forth. And they don't want to have their ones do a whole lot of hitting. And that's probably been a problem also when you get to a bowl game, missed tackles. But this is an interesting game. And first, weather. So it's going to be about 75, 76 degrees. And looks like anywhere from like a 4 to a 15% chance of rain. So I'm saying to myself, okay, if I was looking at maybe an under or a sloppy game, you have to factor that in. Probably not going to be the case. Let's look at Iowa State off a brutal loss. They got destroyed by Arizona State. So this year, they have had that happen a couple times. Last time was against Texas Tech, lost 23-22. What happened? Next game, they did lose to Kansas 45-36. Defense wasn't much better, and they still scored 36 points here. 4 times last year. 3 of the 4 times they came back and covered against the spread. First time did not do well. They lost 10-7 against Ohio. But what's interesting, Rocco Beck, their starting quarterback, early in the year, he wasn't expected to be the starter. Those first 3-4 games were kind of like a learning process. Their offense was pathetic. Then after that, after a loss, they beat TCU 27-14, beat BYU 45-13, and then the last game won against Kansas State 42-35. I'm seeing that they score. They're going to give you a good effort after they lose. They were embarrassed. Arizona State ran with Cam Scatteraboo. Their quarterback threw all over them. So I think that they're going to be able to score 30 on our defense. Why do I say that? Jaden Higgins, who's from Miami, actually played at Miami Westminster, was more of a basketball player. I think he only played football his senior year. Then he went to a junior college, and Iowa State plucked him for the last 2 years. 87 catches, 83 yards, 9 touchdowns. In fact, at one point, I think he'd gone like 8 or 9 straight games from last year to early this year with a touchdown in each game. He's 6'4", very athletic senior. I think he'll be playing at the next level. So will their other receiver on the other side, Jalen Noel, 72 catches, 1,077 yards, 7 touchdowns. Their running back, Carson Hansen, kind of pedestrian, 670 yards, but he did average over 5 yards a carry and 11 touchdowns. They were playing on a really fast turf against Arizona State, which is built on speed. Now it's on grass. I think that this is an over. I mean, it started at like 50, 55. I know it's at 56.5, even a few 57s. I can't see either team not scoring 30 points. Even head coaching edge is probably going to Matt Campbell. We know, what Mario Cristobal has done. And let's be honest. I think the kids want to have fun. I think the game plan is to throw the football with Cam Ward, let him end on a high note. Maybe they'll even let him call some plays. I know Restrepo may not play, be some young receivers, but the tight ends are there. Their offensive line running game, very proficient. And if Cam Scatterby can run seem like a country mile on him, I think Miami's top 2-3 running backs can do the same. So I'm going to go over. I think each team scores 30-plus points, over 56.5 to 57 total points.
So a lot of confidence in the Iowa State offense putting up points. They did average 30 points during the season and had some reasonable numbers. I mean, they're numbered 45 in the country in total offense. They throw the ball, I guess, a little bit better than they run it. But 30.2 average. Defensively, they were number 40, and they also only gave up 21 points on average through the years. I'm not sure they met an offense quite like Miami's offense with Cam Ward and the running game. So I could see where you're coming from there. You're expecting a shootout kind of game. Now, Mario Cristobal tries really hard to instill in his program and teams that these are not meaningless bowl games, that these are important games. He wants them invested. I mean, he's shut the whole program down to the media for this game. Doesn't want anybody knowing who's playing and who's not playing.
Wait, Gary, who's going to play cornerback? Did he all of a sudden find some cornerbacks in the portal that can play in this game? I don't think
that can play in this game. They're working on it, man. They're trying to find 5 or 6 of them in the portal.
Even Frederic in that last game against Syracuse, our one good defensive back all year, got torched. Yeah. How are they going to cover these two guys? I don't see it.
Yes, I see where you're coming from. To me, the intrigue is going to be whether Mario is successful getting these guys invested in this game. There's really not a lot of stakes. Let's be honest. It's essentially an exhibition game. Right. Mario will have me freaking assassinated for saying that, but that's the reality of it. And usually the underdog teams are the ones that are able to get themselves up and inspired to play these kind of games. So, I agree with you. I think Iowa State will come in and put forth a good performance. I think the key for Miami will be how much can they summon from within and how well can they run the football. I think the running game is going to be a big factor in this game. Yeah. I'm expecting a bust out from Jordan Lyle here. It's a good place to do it. And it should be a wild affair. So, Lee, Miami's a 3.5-point favorite in the game. And I know you were expecting a lot of points, both you and I, but who comes out ahead at the end?
I mean, I got Miami winning the game like 42 to 38. So Miami wins by a half a point. So
that's going to be worth the ride on the bright line. 8 points. Right. I'm fired up.
I honestly, I'm not playing the game. I told you I'm playing the total. I'm actually playing it pretty big. So it is. I think it is. But we lost a lot of steam in recruiting near the end. Florida, out of nowhere. I mean, Sunbelt Billy was probably a half away from getting fired, and now just totally turned it around. Their season and also recruiting, as far as in the portal, and also
isn't it amazing how fast that
switch flipped? So let's say we win the game 45-28, 45-30. I think that they can use that as a selling point. So I'm going to throw a name out there in the portal. Hasn't it been really quiet with Miami going after a quarterback? You heard about the kid from Washington State for a day or two. Okay. Yeah. But maybe, how about Quinn Ewers from Texas?
My guys in Texas tell me he's going NFL. We'll see if they're right.
What's he going to be drafted? Second round? He's not going first round. No. Second, third round.
But he probably is what he is at this point. That's what I'm hearing out of Austin. We'll see if they're right.
We'll see. But it just seems a little bit quiet.
How about Carson Beck?
Yeah, well, he's dating one of
from Georgia.
He's dating one of the Cavender twins. I heard.
Yeah, they're graduating though, but yeah.
Yeah, but who knows? Probably staying around. They're probably not moving to Ames, Iowa, to live, right? So
I just wonder, is Carson Beck? I mean, if are you gonna, you get Carson Beck, Emory probably leaves. Emory Williams, may or may not leave, but is it worth going to get Carson Beck and disrupting your, the three quarterbacks that you're going to have in the room that you've recruited? You
got the young freshman coming in, and he comes in with a lot of promise. But I say yes, if you can get Ewers or Beck, I think you go for it.
You got to go for it.
Don't be shocked if one of those two guys. I was going to bring up Beck too, but it's just too quiet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, definitely, but I keep hearing Ewers is staying in Austin. So Carson Beck is the big rumor name that people are throwing out there now, especially if this young Georgia quarterback plays well in their playoff game.
And what happens if Ewers stays and doesn't go in the draft? Arch Manning?
Yeah, they're not. Texas isn't going to let Arch Manning.
Arch Manning's not leaving. He's not. What am I going to say? Arch Manning is not going to sit on the bench for another year.
No, that's why I don't think Texas is going to let him leave. I think they're going to give him the job next year.
Okay. So if that's the case, Quinn Ewers is turning pro or going to leave.
Or going to leave, no doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we just mentioned Carson Beck. He's obviously hurt. He can't play in their game against Notre Dame, a playoff game. That was the one game I wanted to ask you about. I think it's really intriguing. This Notre Dame defense headed up by former Miami head coach Al Golden. Lee, all he had to do was be his own defensive coordinator, and he'd still have the head coaching job here at Miami. He's doing a pretty good job with that Notre Dame defense, and now they're playing Georgia in the winner-take-all game in the playoff. What do you think? Notre Dame is a 2-point underdog against a Georgia team that hasn't been playing the greatest football. I mean, they struggled against Georgia Tech. I know they obviously they made the playoff, but what happens in the Notre Dame-Georgia game?
So I thought the backup quarterback for Georgia played better than I thought he would. I still think that he's pedestrian, and I think Texas just relaxed when they saw that Carson Beck was out, and that happens sometimes. I think that the Notre Dame defense is for real. I don't think this Georgia team is special at all, and Riley Leonard can make plays throwing the football and with his legs. So are they good enough to win it all? Probably not. The other side of the bracket is much, much tougher, but I think they're the right side here against Georgia. Wrong team favored. Notre Dame here, 27-20.
So we're taking Miami and we're taking Notre Dame in those two games.
They're fighting out
like a teaser candidate, Lee. Sounds like a teaser candidate.
Right.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for your wisdom this entire season. It's always been fun. If you guys want to get in on the playoffs, both college and NFL, and then obviously all the other sports that are cranking these days, Paramount Sports, Lee Sterling is your place. Lee, any specials here at the end of the year?
Yep. So you can get through the Super Bowl 297. Go to the website, ParamountSports.com. Use coupon code SAVE300. And normally $597, just $297. We've got 2 weeks left of the NFL. We've got more than half of the bowls, way more than half of the bowls. And we put out the selections each day. We don't put them out, 5 days, a week in advance. And then entire college playoffs, the NFL playoffs, and also Super Bowl. So we also include top 10 prop plays, including my daughter's over-under on the national anthem, where she's 9-0-1. So she studies it, takes it serious. So everything's up and available, and also all the other sports, basketball, hockey, and UFC starts back up mid-January, ParamountSports.com. So I want to wish you and Gary, your family and staff and all the listeners and viewers out there a happy and a healthy holiday.
Same to you, Lee, and I'm fired up. I'm heading over to the Brightline station as soon as we're done here. And
That's the way to go, huh?
Man, I'm going to see some points tomorrow at Camping World Stadium. I am fired up. So for Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Furman. Thank you so much for joining us this entire season on You Bet CaneSport, and we'll see you in the next go-around, I guess, in August. Have a great New Year, everybody.